So there's this thing in the auto media that talks about the trend of automakers thinking about or potentially trying to bring back cheaper cars. I've been hearing recent news about the new cheap Slate truck, the Ram Express truck, and all the employee pricing going on with Ford and Stellantis. And it gives this underlying impression that automakers are now becoming more concerned about affordability, and we might see the tide turn when it comes to car prices. Guys, this is nothing but a bunch of BS. Automakers could care less about affordability, and I'm going to break down why that's the case and why all of these points are just gimmicks. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in and listening as always. So here's the thing, and I've mentioned this before multiple times, but automakers do not care about affordability. They only care about overall sales. And right now, while the numbers for sales might not be great, they're not bad enough to deter automakers from keeping the average purchase price of a car at $50,000. That's $50,000 for your average car in the United States today, an increase of 30% since 2019. The average monthly payment went up from $535 in 2019 to over $730 today, and that's an increase of over 40%. So if there is one thing that does concern these automakers, it's the ability of consumers to afford monthly payments. Because let's be honest, the average consumer is a payment shopper, not a price shopper. Now, don't get it wrong, these automakers aren't concerned about it because the consumers are struggling to make the payments. They're concerned because that really limits who can get into a loan for these vehicles. Because the average income hasn't gone up by 40% since 2024. And since wages aren't keeping up with the cost of cars, the only way these automakers can make this work is by trying to get banks on board with approving people for longer 7 to 8 year loan terms. That's the only thing that automakers are concerned about, not actually making affordable cars. Now, when I look around at auto dealerships, I don't see discounts or places where they're budging on prices. The only exception might be Ford and Stellantis, but even then, it's only when it comes to certain models. And the discounts aren't worth it because the add-ons and markups more than eat up any price cut they advertise. And the main thing I've been noticing is that a lot of these dealers are cutting down on the total supply of cars they have at any given time. They're not taking in more 2025 units because they still have a lot of 2024 units that are unsold. So it seems like they're fully adopting the margin strategy where they're focusing on selling fewer cars on higher margins instead of the volume strategy they had pre-pandemic, which meant they sold a larger volume of vehicles but on smaller margins. Now, instead of cutting prices to spur demand to get back to that strategy, they're cutting supply to support the overinflated prices of these cars in relation to their demand. A lot of these dealers in my area are simply downsizing to create an artificial sense of scarcity to consumers. In fact, my local Stellantis dealer doesn't mention that they have an extra lot with additional Ram trucks and Wranglers on their website, but this is the direction they want to go to. There isn't any indication they want to build cheaper cars from what I see. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to say, what about all the stuff I mentioned early on about the new Slate truck, the Ram Express truck, the employee pricing stuff? Here's the thing, they're all just marketing gimmicks. The employee pricing is an optional program that not all dealers have to be on board with. And most of the time you would have gotten those prices or even better prior to the employee pricing stuff. The only difference is that this time these discounts are directly from the automaker and not the dealers. And Ford and Stellantis are only doing this because they want to get rid of all the supply of 2024 units on their dealership lots that are preventing these dealerships from taking in new 2025 and 2026 units. The Ram Express truck is also just another gimmick by Stellantis to make it seem like they're doing their customers a big favor. But even with that in mind, $44,000 for a basic trim on a 1500 truck is not a win for consumers. Assuming you can even get it for that price from any of these greedy Stellantis dealers that will lace it up with additional fees and addendum stickers, this is not Stellantis caring about affordability. This is Stellantis trying to dupe their customers into thinking they got a good deal on an overpriced basic truck. And then, of course, the Slate truck is my favorite gimmick out of all of these, a customizable electric truck that no one asks for. And you have to pay extra to install features that are standard with all new cars nowadays. It's just ridiculous. To me, this is the auto industry's version of budget airlines like Ryanair and Spirit. You get a cheap ticket, but you'll be overcharged for things that are standard in other airlines. This is what the strategy is going to be for this Slate truck. Overcharged for anything and everything that will make these electric trucks worth having. Now, could this work? Maybe, but whether or not it works, this isn't about Jeff Bezos caring about affordability in the auto market. This is just a gimmick they're using to get a quick market share so that they can overcharge prices down the line. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the issue. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.